We're standing here at Orsia Merlet at 6,000 feet. The riders, of course, making their effort beginning down at Gap, where it stands just 2,500 feet above sea level. The crowds were out all through the night finding the best vantage positions, and among them a lot of British supporters, hoping, of course, for a victory by Robert Miller. But from 7 o'clock this morning, the roads were closed just for the riders to practice. One of the first men out on the roads, Pedro Delgado, and he came up the mountain training all the way to the top. He'll know now that the last 8 kilometres of the course today is the most difficult. Delgado won at Villard de Lans last year. That was a mountain test as well, and of course he went on to win the Tour de France. Now he has to come back from 4th place and a gap of 3 minutes 3 seconds over the race leader. Well, not to be outdone, Laurent Fignon was also training on the course this morning, thinking probably of the 7 seconds he leads Greg LeMond overall. That is now no time at all on roads like this. Now, if you want to see what it's like for a rider starting a time trial, this is the view from the start house each rider will get. The countdown from 15 seconds through to the start. And I think it's true to say today, the only downhill section on this course is the 6 feet. 15, it's a mountain time trial, as we've mentioned, 39 kilometres, 25 miles of tough cycling. There are 2 first category climbs en route. No assistance from team colleagues for the riders. Each man goes against the clock. The riders, the leading riders in the GC, go last. Here's Paul. I'm standing at the ski stop of Orsia Merlet. At 6,000 feet, the air is thin, it's high in the Alps. Today the riders face their first crucial test in the Alps, a time trial of 24 miles. It's all uphill. They start in Gap at an elevation of 2,400 feet. Today they know, the leaders, they're all alone. There's nobody to hide behind, no teammates to help them, no pack to draft from. They must come out here and do their best time possible if they are to register a real challenge to win this Tour de France. 5 miles from the finish today, the riders face the steepest hills so far in the Alps. It's crucial they ride it well. The tactics are simple. Go easy at the start and go as fast as you can at the finish. They may not win the Tour de France here, but they will certainly lay the foundations for success in Paris.
Charlie Motet, Greg LeMond, and Laurent Fignon. Each man prepares differently, with desires as unique as themselves, but each of them knows how important their next ride really is. The time trial is underway, illuminated by bright alpine sun. Steven Rooks, a Dutchman, is setting a very fast pace, enhancing his already strong reputation as a mountain man. Andy Hampson of Boulder, Colorado, is moving along on a ride that is much slower than Rooks' pace. How much this matters to Hampson will be revealed by the effort he now puts forth and the times of the leaders still to come.
Andy, 15th in the Tour de France last year, knows he must do well today. He's 5 minutes 18 seconds behind overall, and now he's losing time to all those who matter in this Tour de France.
Hampton prizes calmness and self-control on the bike and off it, too, where he's so mild-mannered, it's hard to imagine he was one of the favorites to win this year's Tour. But that self-control may work against him in a situation like this, where something more explosive, more do-or-die seems in order. This race is slipping away from Andy, and you want him to react.
The countdown through the leaders continues with Frenchman Charlie Motet, whose soft side is a contrast to France's other hero, Laurent Fignon. There is, however, nothing soft about Motet when he attacks the Alps.
Charlie Motet is world ranked #1, largely because of success away from the Tour de France. Here, he still has to prove he can ride to match his ranking.
Motet is quiet, like Hampton, and seemingly unassuming. But so far, he's achieved his goals, such as that #1 ranking, well ahead of schedule.
The challenge again has been set by Delgado. Greg LeMond buckles into the devices, which may or may not help him. 2 men to go in stage 15 of the Tour de France are in place. Laurent Fignon makes no effort to hide his emotions. Greg LeMond hides his behind the shades. The challenge once again has been put in place by Delgado, and the desire here is to limit the ability of Delgado's charge up through the standings, where Fignon and LeMond had so comfortably stayed for so long. LeMond says goodbye to the city of Gap. Cycling legend Eddy Merckx has told Laurent Fignon that after a victory in the Tour of Italy, which Fignon won in June, the toughest time in the Tour de France is stage 15. That time is now.
All the great winners of past Tours de France have mastered the art of riding alone against a watch. Greg LeMond has the ability to concentrate, shut out the pain from his mind, and allow the body to do what it's capable of.
After the slow stages that rolled across the lower portions of the country of France, Laurent Fignon attacked the mountains of the Alps, which he knew held the secret of the Tour. Greg LeMond's pace was startling, only 40 seconds behind that of Pedro Delgado.
Every second means a lot here because unlike his chief rivals Fignon and Delgado, LeMond doesn't have a strong team to support him in the mountains.
At the first time check, Fignon is 13 seconds slower than LeMond.
Greg LeMond, using the bars as used by triathletes with amazing success, is now pushing on his target, the yellow jersey.
The next time check tells a lot of the race. LeMond is 20 seconds behind Delgado, and Fignon is 22 seconds behind LeMond.
Festival here. We're going back down the road to Sean Kelly, who again continues to surprise everybody in this year's Tour de France. He was penalised 10 seconds a couple of days ago for giving a helping hand to a rival competitor. That took him away from 11th place overall to 13th, which is where he was this morning. And Kelly has been on the leaderboard all the way up the mountain. He's second best at the halfway mark behind Indurain, but there really was not very much in it. And if Kelly continues his progress, he might well challenge. We're looking down now at the 21-kilometre check. Rooks goes through there as best time. He's still to finish, of course. Indurain was 2 seconds behind him. He's almost finished now. Sean Kelly, 26 seconds back at that point at 21 kilometres. But Kelly at last seems to have mastered the art of riding alone. So watching Indurain finish, it's going to be about a minute if he can put in a good finish here. But Indurain, his face a picture of agony. This has been a vicious climb today, and it is warm and very, very warm indeed as they climb up to 6,000 feet. Indurain turns up towards the home straight now. He can see the line. He'll be inside a minute of beyond these times, so it's not going to be terribly outstanding. It'll be the best time though. Indurain goes top of the board, 1:11.25 for Miguel Indurain. When he broke his collarbone. But we'll go back up to Sean Kelly. Here he comes up towards the line. He's pushing Indurain all the way. He's not going to beat it, but it's a good time because remember, Indurain is better than Laurent Fignon after 10 kilometres. So Sean Kelly is going to keep himself up amongst the leaders in the Tour de France. Sean didn't expect to win this time trial. He wanted not to concede too much time, and I think he's doing that today. But of course, all the top men still to follow. His 12 riders start behind Sean. Second best time at the moment, 1 hour, 11 minutes, 48 seconds. A great ride by Sean Kelly, that. And that's going to keep him in amongst the leaders in this Tour de France. Not too far down the slope, behind Pascal Simon. The crowd seems to be at the thickest here. The big problem the crowd have had on this narrow climb is finding somewhere to park the cars and stay for the night, because there's nowhere off the road except a long way down to the valley below, so the cars have all had to come up to the top, and the spectators have had to walk back down the mountain to stand. But that's the great thing about the Tour de France. It's a sport which uses the natural terrain of Europe, and that's what makes it so exciting. Here comes Stephen Rooks now, and he's very close to Indurain's time. This is going to be tight, and Rooks could well just shave it here. Indurain is in with 11.25. Stephen Rooks might do it. He's pushing every inch of the way, and he's coming up to the line. This is the best time. 1:10.42 for Stephen Rooks. The former king of the mountains is back. He knows it's good. He waves to the Dutch people. 1:10.42 for Stephen Rooks' best time. Well, that was what he wanted to do. He's now concentrated, as he's always said, all of his season on this year's Tour de France. He really hasn't dominated anything at all. He's trained to do well in the Tour. He's trained especially to do well in the Alps, and he's made a jolly good start. Look at this. Rooks on top now, 1:10.42. Indurain 43 seconds back. Kelly drops back to 1 minute and 6 seconds. He said, despite that nasty crash he had a couple of days ago on the flat roads towards Marseille when he banged his head on the road. He seems to have had no ill effects at all. There's the Breton flag on the right, waving at the Dutchman. When you think that just days before the Tour de France began, way back in Luxembourg, Ternicher was a doubtful starter because he broke his ribs in the Tour of Switzerland when he hit a concrete post in the middle of the road, and yet he's come right into his own in the third week of the Tour de France.
There's Rob Miller, 1 hour 14, he's well outside the time of Brooks, and he'll find that that's slipped him down quite a few places in the overall classification.
Well, there's no doubt then, Robert Miller has decided he's not the man to win the Tour de France. He's named his target, the King of the Mountains. That'll give us lots of enjoyment during the next few days in the Alps, because we can expect Miller to be on the attack again. He's taken the pressure off himself with this ride, so he doesn't have to worry about the individual competition. He finishes here 23rd in 1:14.36. As we swing back to the man who's wearing the jersey that Miller wants, the polka dot, as leader of the King of the Mountains, and look at the difference. Ternicher coming up here with a time that's going to be just outside an hour and 12 minutes. No, inside, fourth best, 1:11.54. Ternicher is on the leaderboard in fourth place, and all the stars are still to come behind him.
Well, we told you it was tough, and there's one of the best climbers on this year's tour, hurting after that stage. As Phil said, when we come back from this break, we'll be looking at the stars.
So with Laduretta in with a time of 1 hour, 11 minutes and 6 seconds, we move down now to Andy Hampsten. And Andy Hampsten knows he must produce a ride here today if he is to challenge at all. And look at this, Hampsten 2 minutes 8 seconds behind Delgado at the 33 kilometres per... Well, Andy Hampsten is losing now, finally, all the time he was in front of Delgado on this Tour de France. Delgado is now beginning to chip off all the men who are ahead of him. Well, here he is. This is the man that everybody thought they had to beat, and they were right. Pedro Delgado has ridden himself over every lump on the route of this year's Tour de France, right back into the picture. And he probably doesn't know about the great ride that Le Mans is doing. But Le Mans has come right back in, could pull off the surprise yet. It's going to be a cracking finish, this, because Greg Le Mans could find himself back in the yellow jersey tonight. But Pedro Delgado from 198 to probably second or third in the Tour de France. He's over 2 minutes 8 seconds ahead now of Andy Hampsten, who again for the second year in succession is not enjoying his visit to the Alps. He collapsed here totally last year, slumped away to finish 16th in the race, and it looks, Paul, as though he's about to do it again.
It looks like he's suffering a great deal here, Andy. He's been trying to find the right gear to choose. He's in and out of the saddle, can't get his rhythm, and this really is the hardest part of the course. Going back to Delgado, look how much smoother Delgado is. He's rocking to a rhythm there just to keep his legs going around nice and evenly, and it won't be very long before we go around one of these long straights, and Delgado's probably going to get Andy Hampsten in his sights.
So the Spaniards call him Perico, that's his nickname, and that's what they'll be shouting in his ears as he comes all the way up the mountain, because he's climbed back into the leaderboard without a shadow of a doubt with this performance. Goodness knows what he's holding in store now for the rest of the race when he goes off over the big climbs in the next few days.
As we go back there to Delgado, he really can't be very far at all behind Andy Hampsten. He's out of the saddle here, forcing himself onwards. He must be getting time checks at a regular time from his team manager, because the time checks are being given out over the course to the team managers. And there's Delgado with using a disc wheel. One or two of the riders have used disc wheels, which is surprising on a mountaintop finish like this, but the one Delgado's using, although it is a solid disc wheel, it's very, very light and doesn't hamper him on the climb.
Well, Delgado started 3 minutes behind Andy Hampsten. At the moment, as he comes up to the red kite, he is riding approximately 45 seconds behind him. He's closed all that gap. And he's still keeping his rhythm. He's still full of fight. The crowd do everything except pedal the bike for him after this one, but look at the time. An hour and 13 minutes. He's conceded 3 minutes now to Stephen Rooks. And it'll be 4 minutes by the time he gets to the line. And Rooks today was in fact only 2 minutes behind Hampsten. And remember, Hampsten was in 5th place overall. So that's the quality of Rooks. Rooks also now could find himself in the top 4 or 5 men tonight and right back in this race. The whole leaderboard being thrown upside down by this one ride. Well placed for Andy Hampsten. Now we're watching the man complete the last half mile or so inside that, the last quarter mile to the checkered flag on this first time trial, the only time trial of the year, of this year's Tour de France in the Alps. Last year at Villard-de-Lans, Pedro Delgado was winning there as well, but of course we know that lower down the slope, Greg LeMond is closing fast, and if Greg puts in a finish that he's threatening to do, then we're going to have some finish today. This is Charlie Motte. While we leave Pedro Delgado for the moment, going up towards the finish, we've gone back down to Charlie Motte. He started 3 minutes back. We'll go back and see Pedro finish. He's coming up now. The time to beat is 1:10.42. He's lost the first. He's not looked over this last half of the ride. That's the quality of Stephen Rooks' performance. But Delgado is going to gain time, possibly over Fignon, maybe over LeMond. Time will tell. 1:11.31 for Delgado. Only 4 fastest. He's gone back a little bit over the last couple of kilometres of the climb. This is Greg LeMond coming round the corner. Greg LeMond using those strange handlebars from the triathlete days, which he preferred so much when he won the time trial between Dinard and Rennes. And now Greg LeMond, as far as we know, is fighting back all the way. He was 10 seconds behind Delgado at Orsières, 4 kilometres down the mountain. If he has continued that return to catch up with Delgado, then he could well steal this race right on the line today. He looks like a man that's suffering a bit now.
Well, incredible choice by Greg there. He's used that special adaptation on the handlebars for this middle section of this time trial, where it's quite flat between the top of the 2 cols, and that's probably where, using those new handlebars, that he's pulled back his time on Delgado, because he was 53 seconds down at the top of the first col, and then he was only 10 seconds down there. As we come up to the red flag, he's got a time of 1:09, which in fact I think at the same time was ahead of Delgado's time. As we come up to the climb, it's going to be touch and go whether he's lost any time at all on Delgado.
Well, I think, Paul, in fact, the long wait there is either that LeMond has passed Motte out of the sight of our cameras, or indeed LeMond is catching Motte right on the line for 3 minutes. We're back now to the yellow jersey. Laurent Fignon is bringing this fantastic stage to a close here, because Fignon has never been up amongst the leaderboard all the way up the climb. He's almost certainly saying goodbye to his yellow jersey. As we watch LeMond coming up to the finish, Charlie Motte it is. So he hasn't been caught by LeMond. This is Charlie Motte coming round to the finish, and his time over 2 minutes slower than Stephen Rooks. And I think that LeMond is only just behind Motte. So Charlie Motte comes home 2 minutes slower. The time to beat of Pedro Delgado was 1:11.31. He's losing 2 minutes to Pedro Delgado, as he finishes 1:13.06 for only 12th place for Charlie Motte, and that, I think, will...
Here we've got Greg a little bit further down the road. He's outside Stephen Rooks' time, but the important thing to notice is the time that Greg does in relation to the time that Pedro Delgado does. And of course today what is also important is the time that Laurent Fignon does, because there's only 7 seconds separates these two riders. Greg's coming into the final straight now. He's 1:11.14.15. The time's going on. Got to see if he's pulled back any time on Pedro Delgado.
Well, Indurain is still third, 1:11.25. Delgado 1:11.31. One thing for sure, Delgado has not got much on LeMond today. LeMond is back in this Tour de France. We thought he might have lost a lot of time today, but he hasn't. He's come back, and this Tour is certainly not won or lost by Greg LeMond or Pedro Delgado. 1:11.39 for 5th place. That is a marvellous ride by Greg LeMond today. And now, if he can go well in the Alps, this could all go to Versailles in the final time trial. Greg LeMond has come back into this race. He's going to take the yellow jersey on that performance, and Pedro Delgado has gained only 8 seconds on him on this climb.
Still a fair way to go here, and it's not far off Greg LeMond's time, and we're not far off Pedro Delgado's time. 1:11.19. I think that was the 800 metres to go banner. Laurent Fignon looks like he's going to concede well over a minute to Pedro Delgado, and probably the same to Greg LeMond, so we're going to see the American back in yellow again tonight.
Well, that is a tremendous result for Greg LeMond if that's the case. And Delgado, of course, has continued his relentless progress towards the yellow jersey, which has seemed such a long way away from him these last couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden is literally just around the corner. But one thing is now certain, Laurent Fignon is definitely losing the lead. At 1:11.53, he's finishing way outside. He's slower than Sean Kelly now, and he's still a long way up to the line. He's gone outside the time of Raul Alcala and Gerd Terniser. And by the time he gets through to 1:12.19, he'll be outside the time of Laurent Biondi, the early leader today, and the rider really that Fignon should have beaten wholesaledly. Biondi's time was 1:12.19. That's it, it's gone. So Laurent Fignon losing ground rapidly here as he tries to salvage a couple of seconds on the line. 10th place, 1:12.26 for Laurent Fignon. He gets a round of applause, but not the cheers we would have expected, because quite honestly, 10th place is not good enough now. Laurent Fignon has lost his lead in the Tour de France. It's gone back. The pendulum swings again in the direction of the American Greg LeMond. That in itself, something of a surprise, but the hot news tonight, Pedro Delgado is back. And there is the result of the final individual time trial on the mountain today. Stephen Rooks, 1:10.42. La Resta in second place at 24 seconds. Indurain third. Pedro Delgado gets fourth, and Greg LeMond is fifth, 57 seconds down on the winner.
Yeah, what a great ride by LeMond. We thought his tour was over a couple of days ago. That's plainly not the case. We'll work out the overall classification while you're away from us here. We can confirm that Greg LeMond is back in the yellow jersey tonight. Greg LeMond from Fignon by something like 40 seconds it is now. Charlie Motte is third. Delgado fourth. He didn't do too much damage, did he? But he's edged nearer Motte. Legeretta fifth, and Stephen Rooks, as we suspected, on that leaderboard now, 6 minutes and 5 seconds back. Malcolm Elliott, quite a stage today. As we said, we thought LeMond's tour was over a couple of days ago, but that's not the case.
Not at all, no. He's come back remarkably, and I think it bodes very well for him for the next 4 days.
Delgado lost a little bit of time over the second stage today, surprisingly. He was going well at one stage.
Yes, he's not done much damage, but actually, if we look at his gap on LeMond, if we go back and go back again to Luxembourg, he could be leading the race now had it not been for that. So
almost certainly would have.
Very pessimistic up to now, Greg, but now after the performance today, just 9 seconds behind Pedro Delgado in a mountain top time trial, your confidence must be coming back.
Oh yeah, I've been very confident for the last since the Pyrenees, and I don't feel there's probably any rider riding better than me in the Tour de France. Now it's really going to come down to the team factor, where you know, if I can, I know that there's a lot of riders, especially the PDM team, has been racing against me, and it's going to be difficult to fend them off.
Well, Greg, the PDM team, there are a lot of good riders, but there's no rider at the head. There's no rider who wants to take the race by the horns like you have done.
That's true, but it's going to be difficult for me to chase every break that goes on, and I just hope that there'll be other riders that are concerned about the overall. I hope that Fignon will be concerned about keeping his position, Delgado, and not just letting breaks get away as in the Pyrenees.
Well, Greg, yesterday you said to me the favourite for the Tour this year was first Delgado, second LeMond. What's your verdict now?
Well, I'd say I'm riding as well as Delgado, because if I can only lose 12 seconds to him in a race like this, then I know I'm riding extremely well. I think that it's still going to come down the L'Alpe d'Huez stage, and it's a matter of coming out of the Alps well. But I know I'm going to have good days. It's just going to be a matter of, can I control the race?